How important is the beginning of a story or the start of the movie that promises you a great experience that makes you believe you will be hooked for the next hour or two? Maybe not that much in the good olden days where getting to the movie theatre is an adventure in itself. It was a gamble till the last minute while waiting in the queue if we will get the ticket or will be sent away by the announcement house full. When you finally get to sit in the seat, front of the big screen, there is nothing, even a bad movie can make us leave the theatre, leave alone the bad beginning of the story. But today, it's easier to count the number of stars in the sky than the number of entertainment options on TV. The attention span of the audience has decreased dramatically. So the time that an average viewer would spend before deciding on whether to continue watch a movie or a program is significantly less. They would spend hours scrolling mindlessly consuming content. But when it comes to committing 2 hours to watch a movie on an evening after a tiring day, every minute is precious when they try to decide what is in store for them. So in this video, I'm going through a number of ways a story could start that effectively engage a viewer, and to make it more interesting, I will go through the list with the help of Tamil movies that impressed us in the past. Let's get to the video. Over 90% of the Tamil movies that were released until a decade ago were family-based subjects. So it is almost a cliche that the movies start with introducing each of the family members, like the time your friend showed you the pictures from the family album and you pretended to be interested. But this is not always a bad idea when the characters introduced with their memorable characteristic trait that helps the viewers to emotionally connect with the character, a relevant backstory that sets up the stage for future story development. So what do I mean by that? Say for example, we learn the hero is considered to be a biggest disappointment by his dad, yet he never tries to win his approval in the movie Aha. Though the couple in Sindhu Bhairavi seems affectionate and loving, both are deprived of something. Bhairavi of a baby and JKB of an intellectual partner. The squabbles between two families in Poove Unakaga. A day in the life is not only a popular trend in social media now, but it is an effective way of starting a story as well. It could be either how the character's life used to be normal until a life-changing event happens one day, or how the story starts with a pretty much uneventful day, and by the time the day ends, character's life is not the same anymore. It worked well for a light-hearted movie like Oh My Kadavale, and also for a grim and dark story like Visaranai. This technique is also used to introduce a bunch of characters like Sudhikavum and how their typical day would look in a funny way, or to shove in your throat how one character is playful as in Maunaragam in a not so pleasing way. A slight change in the intro of Sathi leelavathi showed how careful the writers were in preventing Priyadarshini to be portrayed as a characterless woman. Only after we hear the justification from Priyadarshini as a pretext to her life decisions later in the story do we go on being introduced to the rest of the cast. While we are on the subject of justifying why one character would behave in a way that is not traditional or within the social norms or generally picked as an odd one out, starting the story from walking us through the character's world has proved to be effective in understanding the complex characters better. Like, why would Dilli agree to the conditions imposed on him? Why is Shaktivel a gangster? Why does Chittan behave differently from others? Why does Kali hate rich people? Why does Vinod doesn't flinch to commit a crime to get to his love? That's enough about the character's world. Let's move on to the overall world building of the story. How and when is world building necessary? It is imperative when the story is set in a world that an ordinary person living an easy life couldn't perceive. The characters could be someone you could relate to, like someone you have come across, but they are put in a situation that you cannot readily interpret because they don't live in a place or situation that you and I live in. So an extensive introduction to the world where the story is happening is vital. Let's consider these 3 movies for example. The characters seem to have a normal life, they have fun, They fall in love, they make friends, they work hard, but their life is highly dependent on their world. The problems they face are from their surroundings. They only want to have a normal life, but the situation they are in will introduce obstacles that they cannot anticipate. If Karthi is not living in a place where there is so much political unrest, if Rangan and Devi are not living in the time when the poverty and unemployment was at its peak, if Bomman and Ali are not living in a village ruled by old principles, we wouldn't have the story. And thus, the introduction of the movie starts with building the foundation of the where of the story. Keep watching the video, the best ones are yet to come. Another movie that fits well into this world building is Roja, with the backdrop of stunningly beautiful Kashmir and dangerous terrorism. But as this video is about the movie intros, Roja would fit well to the next category, which is Purposeful Prologue, where we don't get introduced to the main characters nor the world first, but an unrelated event happens somewhere far away or even in different timeline that's going to take over the protagonist's life. To this date, I feel the movie that uses technique in the most tasteful way possible is Michael Madana Kamarajan. The movies from those days have at least 3 minutes of opening credits. What a clever way to club the opening credits with the prologue, and that too with a catchy tune. Every single line in the song is informative and explains the background of the story. While we are on that subject, how fascinating it is when the main characters themselves talk to the viewers and narrate the opening for us. Let's take the opening scene of Pudupettai for example. Why was this intro good? Why couldn't it start with the violent, gory scenes that make up the majority of the movie? This is a story about one clueless innocent boy's journey to become a ruthless rowdy. He ended up how he was before it all started, all alone. In the beginning, the crowd around scared him. After the life-changing journey, the silence terrifies him. This kind of narration with a distinctive voice is instantly attractive to the audience, as there is a level of authenticity to hear it from someone whose point of view the story will be presented. It is a clear-cut winner, and when our beloved popular actors lend their voice for an opening narration, it's somehow convincing that we are about to watch a good movie. R.J. Balaji in Thiya Vailai Seyanam Kumaru, Vijay Sethupathi in Kadasila Biryani are a few examples. All good about narration, but what about silent openings with suspense that leaves the viewers to run several scenarios in their head, guessing what could be happening? The actions of the helper boy and the gardener in Sigappu Rojakkal, the sad child lost in her thoughts about her happy family in Kaadhal, gets our imagination running wild. And no doubt we want to know, what did the gardener bury? And what happened to this little girl's family? This way of starting the story, teasing the audience with incomplete information and having them wanting for more, makes it for the effective opening of all. Suspense with silence, alright. What about suspense evoked by unexpected actions that totally blows our mind? Here is a man we have never seen before in any movies. When heroes demand for bigger than life entry scenes, this hero was stripped to his underwear in his intro, and we immediately conclude that he must be one of the nobodies in that village. Not just him, but the little boy and an old man as just some insignificant people in a crowd. When we prepare to move away from them, they shock us with an unexpected action. Now we are fascinated by this extreme contrast of whatever we were conditioned to see in the movies before. We don't start to judge if he's a good guy or a bad guy, but we want to know more about him. Dad of several children ordering kidnaps from the comfort of his own home. Aren't we hooked? One could not miss Nayagan when talking about bold beginnings. Giving a knife to a child character? There's danger of endless debates, and we wait to see, will this bold opening quench the audience's burning questions? And there is Aruvi, a totally different kind of suspense. Suspense through non-linear narrative. Few minutes into the movie, we don't understand what's happening. The characters' ambiguous actions have us utterly confused. Interesting or not, we just continue watching just to clear that confusion. By the time that happens, we find ourselves knee-deep into the wild ride of emotions, sympathy, and even humor. But I would say this is kind of risky. Unless it was the talk of the town, one might not sit through till the story gets to the point. The ultimate aim is to get to the point as soon as the movie starts, even if none of the aforementioned methods are used. Take for example, Maunam Sammadam. Two journalists discuss a murder case, which is the primary essence of the movie. The magnanimity of the incident is revealed, followed by the tension. Even in a light-hearted movie like Arangetra Velai, the protagonist's visit to his office raises our expectations of his job, and that job later becomes the primary drive for the story and connects the characters together. Karthi from Jigarthanda faced with a challenge and got himself into the fix within 10 minutes from the curtain opening. Or simply spell out the movie theme and their intentions like Thillumullu. Should a movie's intro fall into one of these categories? Not really, when the cast and crew evoked high expectations from the audience. Devamagan doesn't follow any of these methods, and their opening scenes aren't particularly interesting as well. But the promise of seeing the two most acclaimed actors sharing the screen space was enough to keep the audience wanting for more. Or the enticing movie posters were enough to look past the slow-moving intros. Before we end the video, I want to share this one movie that defies all the rules. The chemistry between the actors playing the characters with contrasting personalities, the interesting scenes and captivating dialogues alone held the audience's attention. Have I missed any movie that would fit better in each category than the examples I chose? Feel free to add them in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, kindly subscribe and don't miss the essay on the ways one could mess up the story intros. See you all soon in the next video.